Robbie. As a newly minted Cody Cavalry member, I was always happy to help on the board, so they asked me to say just a few words. So I said, I'm happy to say a few words, so I get here, and this is a few words.
Oh, no.
So, it's in very large font, though, that's why it's so big. Any organization that's had the privilege of celebrating a milestone, such as 50 years, can't do so properly without taking a moment to recognize those who have passed away. The people who took risks, made considerable investments in time and energy, and in some cases personal treasure, to make sure that this little endeavor was on sound footing. When the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission started looking for a permanent home for Nebraska Land Days in 1967, a small but very well-connected group of people pulled together the resources to make sure North Platte was chosen. And in 1968, the first celebration was held in North Platte. Our Wild West Arena was completed in 1972, and over 40 years later is still going strong. In its history, our organization has had 129 members of our board of directors. Through the years, the uniform that we wear has changed some, but is mostly consistent of Western jeans, hats, and coordinating ties. One of the other prized pieces of this uniform is the personalized buckle. You have to pay our dues to wear one. Up until recently, many of us were under the impression that the buckle had been part of the uniform since its inception. Turns out that's not the truth. We're not exactly sure when the buckle became part of the uniform, but when it was discussed at a recent board meeting, it seemed incomprehensible that to the men who were responsible for this celebration being in North Platte had not received this piece of the uniform. Tonight we are honored to remedy that. While most of our founding board has passed, we are pleased to have family members here to accept on their behalf. In memory of Neil Baxter, Annie Baxter, and her son, Dr. Kim Baxter. In memory of Claude Evans, daughters Kay Lucas and Karen Carstensen. In memory of President Ken Hornbacher, Virginia Hornbacher, and daughter Erin Schultz. In memory of Dale Studley, Lynn Studley, and son Danny Studley. And we are honored to have with us here tonight Jim Whitaker and his wife Nancy.
Yes, I have thrown that.
You bet.
Jim's going to say a few words, but he's got some notes and some props. So.
Here's my speech. It's not toilet paper either. I tell you, it's been a long week because every night when I put my head on the pillow, I was thinking what I would say if I had a chance to get up here. And the memories of 1968 are really hitting me. And the folks that are here that were part of this, and I brought this picture because it was in the first year's booklet that we printed, and I'm proud of this. We have 8 board members there, and I was not a board member the first 2 years. I was general chairman, which was a different. You could call me past days Dave Fudge, I guess. We look a lot alike. But we had the 8, and so this picture has 10 people in it. And I kept it in my furniture store on the wall when I was working, and then City Hall, I had it on the wall, and I had to get it off the wall several times, at least 8 times, during the years I was mayor. And I would take this picture with me. When we had opening ceremonies, I always had this when I spoke, and I would repeat the names of my old friends and board members. And I want to say them all right now. And so I wouldn't foul up and forget somebody, I put all their names on the back. And in front of the people at the stadium, you get a little nervous sometimes. Anyway, the original board, 1968, left to right, on the top row was my good friend that I've known since 2nd grade, who isn't here anymore, Bob Gams. He was the assistant general chairman. Then we went to Dale Studley, the hardest worker of all of us. Stan Bussell, Claude Evans, a friend that I had known for many years, Neil Baxter, another old-time friend, and then on the front row was John Grothy. These were the officers. He was the vice president. Ken Hornbacher was the president. Bob Bale, secretary. Jim Seacrest, treasurer. Jim called me the other day, and that's why I have this note, because he wanted me to say something to him. He couldn't come. He's ill right now. He was the youngest on our board. So I don't know who's going to last longer, just Jim or Jim. Well, anyway, he said he wanted to make sure that you knew what the steam behind Nebraska Land Day's engine was, and that was volunteers. You know, we have a history of volunteerism with the World War I canteen, World War II canteen, Miss Nebraska Land. Now we have the railroad. All these things, all these volunteers. Miss Nebraska, I guess I mentioned that. I don't know how many years they have, but they're creeping up on you. But this is something that he wanted to mention and honor all those volunteers. The next thing he said, he wanted to mention Ken Hornbacher, because he said that he made Nebraska Land Days his life. And I can verify that. Ken and I talked every day. That first year we only had 4 months and 2 weeks to get the thing on the road. Organizing 33 committees, had about 1,000 volunteers, and it was like a nightmare to get that all done. We all had jobs. And when I look back this week, I just wondered, how did we get that completed? What was the thing that motivated all of us to do that? it was something, I'd say, very, very special, because whoever selected those people, and I had nothing to do with getting those people selected, they had to find 8 people on that board who they knew would get this done. They had invested city money, $25,000 the city gave us. That's 1968. That year you could build a house and a lot for $23,000. I know because I did it. And also, as a board, we had to raise $20,000 more. And that was like the equivalent of probably 5 automobiles, new cars, in 1968. So we were somewhat apprehensive about the whole thing, but these guys never missed a meeting. When we got toward the end, not only did we have a meeting, 5 meetings or 5 days a week, but we had some of those days with 2 meetings at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. They didn't miss. They were I'd call it one of the best committees that anybody could find anywhere. The people that did that were the Chamber of Commerce manager at that time, and I had to scratch my head to remember him, Ray Watson. How many remember Ray Watson? Raise your hands. Just a few. And then I didn't remember who was the chamber president that year. Harold Bacon. Do you remember that name? Anybody here? Well, they picked those people. I wasn't the first general chairman. The general chairman ahead of me, he worked for probably 3 months, 4 months. Jim Hansen was his name. He worked for the phone company and they transferred him. I think he put in for a transfer when he saw what was ahead of him. I never saw him since. But anyway, these are great memories. I could stay up here all night, but I think it's going to be a better party here pretty soon. But thanks for the time and thanks for the memories. And thanks for the honor of this community having this and selecting those folks, and I guess the luck that I had to work with them. So thanks for honoring us with your